Okay, so I welcome you to this fifth session of our webinar series, Bridging GI and Space Initiative Fostering Gender Equality. This is the fifth of this webinar series that aims at giving visibility and connecting with the networks of women which are complementary to women in Copernicus. And today we are hosting a network that is called Women in Geospatial, which is quite different from the networks that we've seen so far. More inclusive and more ambitious, if we want, in its vision of gender and what gender equality and what inclusion and diversity are on the workplace. And we've got representing Women in Geospatial, Julia Wageman and Aida Monfort-Mauriac. So Julia will speak first, and I will just shortly introduce her so that you know what their background is before she gives her presentation. So Julia is a geospatial analyst. She is a PhD candidate and a community builder who promotes the use of large volumes of open meteorological and climate data and open geospatial software. She works together with companies and intergovernmental organizations and runs Jupyter-based training on geospatial data analysis and programming. She's one of the co-founders on Women in Geospatial Plus, which was founded in March 2019, following her call to improve diversity and gender equality in the geospatial field. She also co-developed a speakers database, giving more visibility to speakers from underrepresented gender backgrounds, and organizes a webinar series on career development, and she will tell us more about this just in a second. So, Julia, please, the floor is yours. Unmute your micro, and you can share your screen for your presentation.
Thank you, Grazia, and also welcome from my side. I'm very happy to be here, and also thanks again to Women in Copernicus for inviting me and also Women in Geospatial Plus to be able to share with you all our activities and also our mission we have in Women in Geospatial Plus. I just share my screen, and because I prepared a set of slides. If you just could confirm that you see it in full screen. Okay, perfect. Okay, good. So for the next 20 or 25 minutes, I would like to give you a short overview of what we do in Women in Geospatial Plus, why we started the network, and also the reason why we do things and activities. I think Grazia was very bold in her statement that we are very ambitious in what we do. I think we have a plan, and probably the title already says is that we would like to make an impact, and with Women in Geospatial Plus, we don't do a sprint. We are currently doing a marathon and do a lot of preparation for having a long-term impact. And so our one part of our mission is changing the status quo by creating a strong network of women plus leaders and change makers. But I would like to guide you a bit through what this actually means for us. And with this, I would like to start with the current status quo. So in order to understand that we need a change, we first of all have to be clear what is actually the status quo and the reason why we maybe need a change. And so this is one example which showcases many of the visible imbalances and discriminations, I would say, which need to be corrected. So first of all, like here this year, the geospatial world media is every year is assigning or awarding geospatial leaders, so people who are experts in the geospatial field and people who have in decision-making positions, who are experts and who have a say in where the direction is going to. And at the same time, I think they started it this year or last year, they also award to 50 people a Rising Star Award. So this means these are like promising young professionals in the geospatial field who are on the pathway to make some impact in the geospatial field and industry. And we see here already on the left that in the Rising Stars, under these 50 people who got the award, we had around 60% women plus. So this means that we had even more than half of the people of this award were women, which is already a good sign that there is an awareness that we need to be more diverse. And we also have not only in gender, but also in race and ethnicity. But then on the other side, some weeks later, they came up with the geospatial leaders of this year of 2021. And there were 60 people got this award, and only 5 out of the 60 geospatial leaders were women. And there we already see that it is good that on the ground with young professionals, we have an awareness coming up that we have to be more diverse. But at the same time, like there is this glass ceiling, which we see that the more we come into decision-making positions, the less women and the less diversity we have. And this is just one example of many. The same is if we used to go to conferences, now we do a lot virtual, but also on conferences and events, if it comes to experts, it is conference and event organizers, they seem to have like a very hard time to find also women experts, because within networks and the geospatial domain, people then always suggest also mostly men who are experts in a specific field. And so this also results then that we in conferences and events, we have men-only panels, which are called manels. And this is also what we fight for, that we need representation of diversity on every level. So on the young professionals and entry levels, in the mid-career, but also in more senior level positions. This is the obvious side. So this is something we really see when we are going to conferences, or here when people get awards. So we see the percentage of representation and diversity. But then the other problem is also that there is a lot of invisible discrimination on workplaces. I just removed this a bit. So which I would say even a bigger problem, because this is actually the day-to-day situations where women plus in the professional setting come, for example, in a meeting, or also during a conference where maybe they suggest something and they not listen to, or they even don't have the opportunity to talk or to speak up, or so there we have unconscious biases in the workplace and also in hiring processes, which also results to the glass ceiling and to some of to a limit where at some point women have it much harder to advance to the next career level. And this has to do a lot with how the society perceives leadership, and also how our upbringing and the socialization of women in society. This also plays an important role, because often when we speak up, or if we talk about something that is not correct, then people see us as aggressive, for example, or people don't consider women as experts or as leaders. It is more that men are assigned to see that they can take on responsibility and leadership. And there are not so many studies out there. There's just one which has more a focus on New Zealand, and it has been conducted in 2017 regarding the career development of young professionals in the geospatial field. And in this study, it is quite striking that 2 out of 3 women indicated that they are likely to leave the GIS industry before 10 years. And this is similar to other fields, like in the general women in technology field, where we say that it is quite striking that quite a high percentage of women at some point feel they give up because there are too many barriers for them to advance, or it is just too much input or too much energy every day to actually speak up and to make yourself heard, etc. At some point they just say, okay, I focus on something else. And this is not good, because this means that we also lose a lot of potential and a lot of talent and a lot of experience when people leave after 10 years or later. And also we also miss out of a diverse perspective, which can shape the GIS industry. Okay, and with this slide, I just want to point out that it doesn't just happen to us normals, like to us in the professional setting. And just some weeks back, at the beginning of April, I think everyone read this in the news, that when Ursula von der Leyen had a state visit to Turkey, it actually happened to her that she after the visit, she was saying, my visit to Turkey showed how far we still have to go before women are treated as equals. And so in this setting, or in this scene, it was clearly there, in this picture, we see a lot of hidden messages which were not outspoken at that situation. But also Ursula von der Leyen entered a room and at first thought, okay, what's going on? And she wasn't sure what to do. And she also in a talk she gave, or in a speech, in a statement she gave last week in front of the European Commission, she exactly also addressed her feelings, how she felt there. And she was saying, yes, she felt alone and she felt lost. She didn't know what to do. But at the same time, it's a good sign or signal that she addresses this and she speaks these situations out, that it also happens to her, and she is the president of the European Commission. And so discrimination is on all levels, but the problem is that it is often a very hidden discrimination, and it is really hard to address it, women plus, I would say. Everyone comes at some point to a point where we don't know how to deal with these situations. And if you're interested to the speech, which I can highly recommend, you can follow this bit.ly link, bit.ly/von der Leyen statement, which I created, and the video starts, or her statement starts at minute 13, and I can really recommend it. So I think she addresses it very well, and there is at least also hope with her addressing it, that we start a discussion and we see also some change. And then and this is like I just wanted to include this also for sharing with you, and if you're interested, you can have a look and you can go to genderfacts.org. Because the Homeward Bound program is a leadership program for women in STEM, so in science, technology, engineering, medicine, and math. And they conducted a global study under women in STEM, and collected some hard gender facts, in total 28 hard gender facts, which are just facts, and which we have to first be aware of it, and then hopefully also to work towards changing it. And I just copy pasted some of them here, so that yes, it is a problem that only 10% of women are in leadership positions worldwide, or it not only has we not only have problems with discrimination in the workplace and gender biases, but it also the fact that women still do twice as much housework as men is a problem, because this also results to women cannot or they have to struggle more both, and so they cannot also put energy or their full energy into the workplace. And so it's also important to have diversity and equality in the at home. And then also, like what I said already, is how leadership is perceived in society, so that successful women are seen as less likable than men, or she tends to be ignored while he is listened to. So these are all these aspects we have to first raise awareness, but then also trying to make a change for a more inclusive and diverse workplace, or workplaces in industry. And the question is, how can we actually foster change, and how can we make an impact that we have a more inclusive and diverse geospatial industry? And we see already quite many initiatives. I just have here the locus of some of them, and which is already good, because the initiatives and these organizations, they start a conversation. So for example, Women in Copernicus, which invited us and which run this webinar series, which is great to also showcase different initiatives. And also others, Ladies of Landsat, GeoChicas, which I think they will also give or present their initiatives and activities next week. African Women in GIS, GeoLatinas, which have all also specific regional focus, which is very good and very important. And all these initiatives, we have all a different approach, how we want to actually foster change with the same goal to make the geospatial field more diverse, and also to put a stronger spotlight on women and also the spaces they have in the geospatial field. And but then when we implement it, I always come to the conclusion that I call this the diversity dilemma, because there is probably, I think, also the group who joined today, you probably already were in one of the diversity or equality sessions during one conference. And this is always these sessions where I have the impression people give these sessions the biggest room, and then in the end, there are like 10 or 15 people sitting in it. But these are already people, they know everything about this topic. They know about diversity, they know about unconscious biases, they know about the problems, and they are interested in. But the challenge is that we actually have to address, or we have to speak to the people who actually are unaware of the problem and the challenges. So people in like recruiters in hiring panels, organizations who already, when they receive applications and there is like a high percentage of men applying to one position, and specifically in technical positions, for example. So we have to also really think, if we want to have an impact and a change, then we have to have a conversation with everyone in the industry, and not only women and people who actually already know about the problem, because then we just continue to repeat the same messages, but we don't go somewhere. So this is for the reason why Women in Geospatial Plus, we at a moment, or from the beginning, and also the next steps or the next years, we will focus strongly on building up confidence professionally and also personally for every women plus in the geospatial field. And then with the aim that we collectively become actors of change, because our belief is that we can't just wait until something is like a change or an impact or some policies are coming from the top. We need also on the ground, we need more people speaking up and also being confident in saying, this is not right, this is my space. I have the right to be in this industry, and I have the right to have this, to apply and get this job, and I have the right to be here. And we started a webinar series last year, and during this webinar series we did some polls asking some questions, and in these I just have copy pasted two responses to two questions. And the first question was, what do you think are the main challenges for you to progress in your career? And 60% said that they feel insecure about their own abilities. So this means, yes, they don't feel confident in their abilities and in their strength. So this is one reason why we have to work on building up confidence. And then the next question also, which of the following do you find the most intimidating? And the number one response was also being seen as the expert. And the second one was networking at conferences. But we have to be honest and we have to be clear that, and this will probably never change. So the more you advance in your career and also the higher the positions and jobs get, the more you will benefit from a professional network. And so the earlier you start with creating and building and shaping your network, also in a strategic way, the better it is, because you will strongly benefit of it. And even if it's intimidating, this is one of the first steps you could actually do to start building up your network and get out of your comfort zone and talk to people and build up relationships. And this is our mission in Women in Geospatial. We want to build an inclusive global community where we unite, inspire, and empower all women plus in the geospatial field to become strong leaders and change makers. And with leaders, we also mean that it is not only in a hierarchical way. So every one of us, as long as you take responsibility for yourself or for others, you are already a leader and a change maker. And this is strongly based on building up confidence and for speaking up for yourself and also for others. So Women in Geospatial Plus has started in March 2019, where with a simple tweet asking for interest, who would be interested in having a community, a network like this for women in the geospatial field. And within 2 days, we had a list of more than 300 people signing up and showing interest. And within the past 2 years, we grew into a more than 2,500 members strong community. And important is also that we are global. So we span currently over 91 countries, and we have more than 16,000 followers on the social medias, on Twitter and on LinkedIn. So one of our core values, or the 3 core values we also have, is that we are global. So we really try to represent the interest of the global women in geospatial community. We are free, and we will always be free because we want to be inclusive. And as soon as you put a membership to it, you become exclusive. And so we are free, and we will always be free to join. And we also volunteer run. So any activities we do at the moment, it is all for investing of a core team, a very committed and strong steering committee investing voluntarily our spare time. And so what we do is we do advocacy. So we want to showcase, so we want to raise awareness about women in geospatial and also on diversity and the importance of gender equality in our field. We do community building, we run events, we run a mentorship program, and we also set up a speakers database, which will also, and where Ida, which she will talk just after me, was basically the core person, because otherwise we couldn't have realized it. And with all these activities, we want to inspire, unite, and empower in order to build a very strong collaborative community. And so, yeah, we do advocacy. So we are on Twitter and on LinkedIn, and the initiative or activity which is very successful at the moment is the weekly profiles. And this is the idea is started on LinkedIn. And each week we feature a woman in geospatial doing what or showing what she does. And so, and this basically is a very nice way to feature different career aspects of the geospatial field as well, because geospatial can be a lot, I would say. And so this is a very nice way to feature the variety and diversity also in applications and jobs that is possible in the geospatial field. So please also, so if you follow us already on LinkedIn, have a look. So each week you will get a woman that is featured, a woman in her professional career that is featured there. We have a vibrant community. So our main community channel is Slack. So and this is a safe space for the reason that the Slack channel, so the Slack channel means that it's only open for women plus. So this means for women and underrepresented or persons from underrepresented gender backgrounds. And this has the reason that this should be really a safe space where women can also start discussing some situations they come in and they didn't know what to do. And this should be really a safe space to discuss and share things, and also to open up some challenges or struggles. But at the same time, it's a very vibrant community where we share jobs, where we share events, where if we have technical or if we learn something, for example, together on Python, then study groups build. We have also a channel on reading books. So we have a book club where each month a new book is discussed. So there are many different aspects where you can get involved, and you will find information you're interested in. So so besides the Slack channel, we also run a mailing list, and this is more inclusive. So also men can sign up to the mailing list, and there we send out like on a regular basis like some updates about what we do in the community, and some events, some jobs, and also about some background information about what is actually going on in the Women in Geospatial steering committee, etc., and organization itself. So yeah, please feel free to, if you're not registered yet, sign up, go to bit.ly/womeningeospatial_sign up, and you can sign up for the Slack channel and or the mailing list. We also run monthly webinars on career development. So last year, I think in March, everyone was like, we had already a set of events lined up for 3 or 4 months, and then in March last year everything stopped. And but at the same time we developed the speakers database, or we already had this idea, and Ida started already developing the speakers database. And so we then used the launch of the speakers database last year in July with the with starting a monthly webinar series on career development. And this is quite successful. So since July, we have a monthly webinar, which has always a different aspect and focus on career development. And we had already webinars on how to gain professional confidence, on public speaking, on imposter syndrome, so how to overcome imposter syndrome. So many different aspects related to career development. Last month we had one on coaching. And feel free to go to YouTube. At the end, I will show you also the link. And all the webinars that have been recorded, you can also go there and have a look. And you can also go to our website where we will announce the upcoming webinars, and also on Twitter and LinkedIn, we always announce the next webinar series. And in fact, in case you have time today, we have today a webinar. It is an impact masterclass. So it is all about how to make a good professional impact. And it is with the author and broadcaster from BBC, Dr. Vanessa Collingridge. And so there's still time to register. So if you're interested, then go to bit.ly/wig_impact and yes, join the webinar today. And we also have a mentorship program. It is already in the second year. So it started in 2019. And it is a one-year mentorship program, always running from October to July, and applications open each year in September. And so the second edition of the mentorship program grew extraordinarily. So we started with 41 people in the first edition, and we have now 115 participants this year from 34 countries. And the mentorship program is set up in a way that you can have one-to-one mentorship, and I think this is more the traditional approach, how you see it, as that there is a more advanced or more experienced person who is the mentor, and then there is a younger professional who is the mentee. But because of there's usually always also a shortage on mentors, so many more people would like to be mentored, so they want to be mentees than being mentors. We also have group mentorship, and it can be a group mentorship up to 4 or 5 people, where it's usually in a peer group, so where people in the same career stage, or or maybe a bit advanced and a bit young professional, form a wider or a bigger group mentorship, for the reason because we also think that there's not just that you can only mentor when you have enough experience. I think everyone has expertise which you can share and where you can be a mentor in. And especially these group mentorships are very beneficial and very valuable, because you can also share your different experiences and understandings and in the geospatial field, etc. And you can also discuss some challenges you had. So with the mentorship, I would also inspire, ask everyone or motivate everyone, so that not only see itself that you only receive, so that you sign up for mentorship in order to get mentorship, but also give, because by having this quote from Winston Churchill, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. So I think it's also very rewarding for yourself when you also give to someone, and you yourself see someone developing and growing by regularly meeting. And so I also suggest, because I think there's also a tendency for women that we always feel quite how do you say, we feel not ready yet that we can actually be a mentor and we can give advice. So there is no correct timing and age where you can start a mentor. So you have unique skill sets and experience, and you can be a mentor for someone. And so please also sign up for mentorship programs and be ready also to mentor, because you can do it. We have a speakers database, which Ida will also talk a bit more about it. So you can go to speakers.womeningeospatial.org, and the idea is to bring conference and event organizers together with women plus in the geospatial field. And this is specifically a resource where we also draw on conference and event organizers. Please go there, because this is a great resource of experts and women plus professionals in the geospatial field who are eager eager to speak up and also to share their expertise. And we have already 280 registrations, but such as a speakers database only works with 2 ways. So we also ask women plus, so please register and showcase your signal that you're interested in speaking up. This is also public speaking. I understand a lot of people are intimidated, but this is another great opportunity where you can push yourself out of your comfort zone by registering to a speakers database. And if someone contacts you, this means they see value in your skills. And if someone else sees value, then you also should believe it. So register, speak up, and embrace change. So I think I talked quite long already now. So just to conclude, what's next for Women in Geospatial Plus? So we are still very young. So we are 2 years young, and we are still in the state of a grassroots movement, starting from a simple tweet. But we are in the process of becoming a bit more structured and organized. And we formed an interim executive board, which consists of 6 women plus, and to formalize a organizational structure which we developed, and also to register as a charity. And this is planned for this year. So we are currently in the process of getting registered. We also are in the process of shaping regional subgroups and regional ambassadors to also have a stronger focus on regional specifics in the geospatial field. We also have a working group working specifically on better understanding diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also to develop specific guidelines which can also help us to starting conversations with organizations and companies in the geospatial field to embrace change. And we also understand that we can't do all the work alone, and we have to, or we also want to partner up. And this is why we also started and are in the process of developing partnership guidelines for Women in Geospatial Plus to really have or to foster an impactful organizational change for the geospatial domain. And then what's next for you? So if you are a women plus or also a man joining today, please join us on the Slack channel or on the mailing list. And this is a good opportunity for you to start networking and also grow your professional network. In case you are not registered yet, please register for our speakers database, because we only get more diverse and inclusive events and conferences when conference organizers also have a resource where they can have a look for potential speakers. And then I think this is always the advice I give. So please, from time to time, even if it's really intimidating, set yourself some goals and put yourself out of your comfort zone, because you can only win. There's no lose in putting yourself out of your comfort zone. You can only grow. And also get mentored, but also be a mentor. So also start already by giving. So like sharing your experiences. This is already giving you advice and your experience also to a broader community. And then continuously speak up for yourself and also for others, and become yourself an actor of change. And with this, I would like to conclude I would like to invite you to choose to challenge. This is actually the hashtag which was part of the International Women's Day this year. So I invite you to choose to challenge the status quo every day and also everywhere, because just with this we can actually have an impact and we can have a change. And yeah, here is just again a summary on how you can get involved in Women in Geospatial Plus. And I really hope that we can make a change together, because we also stronger together. And so please join us, follow us on social media, and register for our speakers database. And with this, I conclude now, and I think I spoke already too long, and I hope Ida still has some time.
Thank you, Julia. Indeed, she has some time still. Thank you so much for the presentation. Before we move on to Aida's presentation, I wanted to read the comments that appeared in the chat for those who are not following. The first one is about the accident in Turkey, which has a name, Sofagate, I find out. And S. Lang tell us that this is a very good example of two dilemmas amplifying each other. So the two dilemmas being the gender problem and the ever competition between the EC and the Council of Europe, which manifests here. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Julia.
Yes, exactly. I agree. So I think this is at the beginning, I think when it was shared, like how do you say? I needed a bit of time to reflect on it. But then also when I listened to her speech last week, it was really saying it's actually also good that something like this also happened because this also just puts it that this is just something obvious. It happens not only to us no names. It still, and this is a problem for women, and this is also what Ursula von der Leyen addresses. So she thinks what happened there was because she is a woman, because it never happened before. There was never a shortage of chairs before, and so there is a problem. Yeah. And so I think it started a very good discussion.
Yeah, and then I read on Wikipedia there are also a lot of critiques to Charles Michel, the president of the council, who didn't leave the chair to her.
Yes. Yeah, but it's always in these. So if I think if you put yourself in these situations, you enter a room, and then this is something you just didn't expect. And so then there's cameras, and this is even more pressure. And so then it's always hard to actually know what is right. So I think if you think about it, if she would be very confident, then she would just say, okay, I go there, go straight there and sit down. And this is just against any protocol. But this is also what they actually did, because they also didn't follow the protocol. But of course, if there are cameras, then this is like high visibility. It's very hard to actually react in this situation.
Very amplified, yes.
Yeah, maybe one word to that, because I mean, it's of course a little bit of side discussion, but so first of all, congratulations, really inspiring talk. I was just, because I had this discussion several times now over the last weeks, because it's really an interesting case. The gender issue is, of course, the main and the obvious. And I fully agree that this should really release a lot of discussion about that, because if that would be vice versa, like the man would be the president, or the European Commission president, okay, then he probably would act differently. But it's mainly a problem of Europe. It's not so much a problem between Turkey and Europe, because it's the ever conflict between the level of European Commission presidents and state representatives, which are the council representatives or the council president. And of course, according to the protocol, this person or this position is obviously higher. This is what makes me super angry, but this has nothing to do with gender. This is the issue of the member states. But that's, it's not the focus here. It's just showing that it's more complex, and if these sort of dilemmas overlay each other, then it gets really a hot topic as this one. Yeah? So, okay, that's all I wanted to say to that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I mean, obviously, I mean, the political issue is interesting, but I mean, obviously the council and the commission didn't go there with a hierarchical, with different hierarchical levels. And I mean, the fact that Turkey is a Muslim country counts.
This is exactly not the case, but you're right here. This is the misunderstanding that we trigger through this.
I mean, I know that the discussion is fascinating, but we have to wrap up because I think that, I mean, we could talk 1 hour about this. There was also another question from Hira Safad on the mentorship program, to which Alina Vizireanu replied, saying that 3 topics are addressed, 3 categories are addressed by the mentorship program, which are academic development, entrepreneurship, and technical skills development. So, I mean, it's not only about purely career development, but there is also a part on technical skills. And here I wanted time to give you the word right now because I need to introduce Aida. So we already know Aida Monfort since she's also part of the Women in Copernicus group. And I mean, she's been since the beginning one of the most important promoters of the project. So she's a computer engineer specialized in geospatial technologies, and she has worked as a researcher since 2016 with Geotech, Geospatial Technologies Research Group at the University Jaume I, which is a research group specialized in geospatial technologies and geographic information systems development. She has worked there on developing web and mobile apps in several European and international projects. In March 2019, so at the very beginning, she joined Women in Geospatial Plus, and she's currently developing and maintaining the speaker database that Julia introduced recently, which aims to give more visibility to women working in the field. And of course, I mean, she's also a member of the core team of Women in Copernicus initiative. And Aida, apologies for the little time. I guess that we can go a bit over time. And please share your screen and unmute yourself.
Yes, I will share my screen. I think you can see it now, right?
Yes.
So I will briefly, as you already said, my university, Jaume I, is based in Castellón, and I studied computer engineering, as you said, and as you can imagine, 90% of the students there were male, which is typical from these technical degrees and in my faculty. And then also I did the Master in Geospatial Technologies, and we were 5 girls out of 22 students also. Then I stayed in the Geotech group and I worked in several projects. Some of them had surprisingly a lot of women representation, so I was very happy to work with them. And I also work in UBIC, which is the spin-off of the university. So in February last year, I saw that Women in Geospatial, they were thinking in building a database, and they were searching for a database engineer. So I became more active and I started to meet with them, and we prepared a prototype for what would be my biggest contribution to Women in Geospatial. And then we set up 2 phases for the speakers database. The first phase was from April to July, and we opened only the registration of speakers because we wanted for some data already to be there when we open it to everybody. So then in July we opened the database, so everyone can search for experts, women, and people from underrepresented gender backgrounds. So there are no more excuses for males. And then from July, the registration is still open, and you can search. The search is, I mean, the registration and search is free and open, and everyone can register and search. So this is the graphic where from the speakers that registered each month, and we see here the first phase in until July, there were a lot of registrations per month, and then it decreased a little bit. Then we see there are some months, like for example, March, where usually March the 8th, the speakers database was promoted in social media, so we got some registrations. And this map here is the country's distribution of the visits of the speakers database. So it is very nice to see that we have a lot of visits from both North America and South America, also from Europe. We lack a little bit of representation from Africa, but I mean, it's very nice. It's still 1 year, and we got 280 speakers registered. This is how it looks like the database. In the left side part, you can filter your speaker by sector, by area, by domain of expertise, or also, for example, by language. So if you are organizing a local or regional event and you need someone from a specific language, you can search. And then you have the map view, where you can see where the speakers are geographically distributed. And then you got the list view, where you can see the profile, and you got the links to contact the speakers. And I guess that's all. These are the links that Julia already mentioned. And I just want to say that if you want to sign up, you won't regret it, because it's a very active community. In Slack, they share a lot of advices. Even there is people that ask advice about their CV or their cover letters or Python. I mean, you can find anything. And also the webinars, and they share job offers. So there are a lot of things that you can benefit from it. And I guess that's all. So we can keep the discussion.
Thank you so much, Aida. Thanks a lot. I just wanted to ask you, I mean, if you plan to collaborate with other networks of women to grow the database, and maybe include a whole list of people which can be already in the hands of other groups of women in the geospatial sector.
Yes, of course. We encourage all women plus to register to the database. Also, we will keep updating the database, and I am thinking that we can add like also Copernicus thematic areas, that so also people can filter and search women speakers by this area.
Thank you, Aida. So I leave the floor to the audience if you have questions to our speakers or general comments. Kira.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, it was a very nice presentation and very overwhelming to see how far you have come and how much good and very nicely well trained organization it is. Yeah, the question is that do you ever feel like all of you have been working in the geospatial field, I don't know for how long, so do you ever feel like that while applying for the jobs or while interviewing, do you ever feel there is a gender biasness between men and women, or even if you interview some people, do you feel the difference between the men and women, or if And another thing is, what kind of skill would you like to say that this skill every woman should have it to survive in this community, to survive in the geospatial industry, to stand out of the crowd? So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a great questions. If I can comment on it, so the first is yes, I would say, I think because geospatial is very technology based as well. So like we have a strong technology component, I would say, also with the growing of data, Earth observation data, satellite, etc., and also like now machine learning applications and AI. And so in hiring processes or in recruiting, there are probably more unconscious biases. So I think the organizations and companies, they don't make it consciously, but at some point they also, maybe sometimes it's also too easy if they recruit and then they only receive applications from men, for example, or like just to a small percentage from women plus. And so there's one fact that women, so this is like also statistically proven, that women, they only apply to jobs when they maybe fulfill 98 or 100% of the requirements, whereas men often, they just say if they only fulfill 50% of the requirements, okay, let's try it, you know, I've got nothing to lose. And so this is why we also always say, so if you only fulfill 50% of the requirements, as long as you're interested in a job, then apply for it, because in the end, you've got nothing to lose. By not applying, you already make a choice not getting the job. So you make the choice compared to the hiring panel. And so I think this is often which results to a imbalance in applicants and to the applicant pool. And then, of course, what should be propagated during hiring panels are diverse hiring panels. Because if there's only men and you are interviewed by a woman, then because the recruiting is also often just how you connect. Like this is also how we become friends, or how with colleagues, with some you just feel more connected than with others. And this is the same with during the recruiting process. So the important is also that we have diverse perspective from a recruiting panel. And the number one skill in geospatial, it's really hard, but depending on where you are. So I come from the background with working with large volumes of data. So I would say, so if you understand at least a bit of coding, it will be very helpful, because this also makes your life easier, because the data will just grow. And if you understand, or if you know how to process the data, it will be very it will be helpful and beneficial.
Yeah, thank you so much, Julia. And regarding recruitment process, I really like your comment, because in my experience, I have always been interviewed by men. I don't know, whatever kind of interviews I gave, the panel always consists of men.
Yeah, and there is already a bias. So with this, there is really the need that companies and organizations, they have to look into this, because there is with this there is already a bias if there is only men and then you getting interviewed as a woman. Yeah.
Thank you, Ira. Any other questions or comments from the audience? Otherwise, I will make one. Okay, I'll make one, but then, I mean, if prepare yourself if you have some questions. So my question is for Aida. So Aida, you are very young. So my question to you will be, what is the advice that you will give to young people entering the geospatial sector, women, of course, in general?
I would say that, as Julia said, we need to step out of our comfort zone, because I feel that sometimes we miss opportunities because maybe it's imposter syndrome, or I don't know why, but I feel that we miss opportunities because we are not brave enough, or we think we cannot do the job, but we can, and I mean we need to try.
Definitely. And what would you say to people who argue that women are more difficult to work with because they're more moody than men?
Who says that?
I heard it many times from women as well.
I mean, in every team there is people from different backgrounds and different personalities, and everyone needs to work together to know how to work in a team. And I think, independent of if it's men or women, the value, the skill that they need to work on is to work in teams, not to work with women, because for me it's the same. Yes,
very true. Thank you so much. So both Aida and Julia, so we invite you to follow Geospatial Women Plus, Women in Geospatial Plus on their social media, to register to the database and to register to the webinars. So I will now share with you a slide with the calendar of our next meetings that will continue in April. There it is. So the next webinar will be on next Wednesday, May 12th, and our invited organization will be GeoChicas. So of course, I mean, you're already all registered to the email alert, so you will receive an alert, note it down on your agendas. And I conclude by thanking all the attendees, all those who participated, Barbara Riedler, who is the initiator of this webinar series, and again, Aida Monfort and Julia Wagemann for being here and sharing their most valuable experience. So thank you all, and we'll see each other next Wednesday. Have a good afternoon.